my phone, so I can't. So you're recording now as we speak?
I'm recording with Zoom, plus I'm bringing it up and YouTube will record it.
I'm gonna tell you
Okay.
what I see, Steve. I'm gonna tell you what I see, okay? And this is hear me out here. This is what I see going on, okay? A lot of incel gossip or whatever you want to call them have been taught systemically to hate themselves all their lives, right?
Right,
So
right.
what you get is a scenario where you go look at incels.is. They're all trying to gain points with the white nationalists, the Muslims, the black nationalists, whoever, the communists, the alt right, whoever. They don't really. It's like they're willfully ignorant of the fact. Like, look, you don't have any allies, bro. You have no allies. Everybody is against you on all sides. Everybody is against you. So why don't you start by actually respecting one another, and that's why you can have one another's back, because nobody else has your fucking back.
And one thing, Bill, I learned is, or Warren, I've learned is if you could live a week or a month in somebody's shoes, like let's say some guy, some parents have a mentally retarded child, and you could live in their shoes for a month, you would be less judgmental of their disheveled looking, beat up 1988 minivan that's rusted. You would be less judgmental. And I think that what a lot of incels and TFLers need to do, and MGTOWs, is start to empathize of what would it be like to be in that person's shoes, because a lot of people can't do that. And I think we're all guilty of that. But I think at my age of 48, I've gotten to the point where me and Bill have talked about this. I'm learning to do that now.
Yes. Okay.
Well, see, something I've noticed too.
Hold on, Warren.
Something I've noticed too.
Hold on a minute, Warren. Hold on, Warren. We are live now, and I want to give Dave a chance to say hello. Okay, so say hi to Dave. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Steve, how you doing? Hey, Warren.
How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good.
Okay, well, start your introduction, Bill.
Yes, well, today this is going to be a surprise for a lot of TFLers out there. Of course, we have Steve Hoka with us, as you heard. We have Warren with us, we have Dave, and then myself. And this is going to be a TFL topic show, so that's what we will be talking about, is TFL topics. And I think we ought to get into some of what TFLers can do to help themselves, okay, as well. And I would encourage TFLers, if they want, to go ahead and go MGTOW. You got nothing to lose going MGTOW, because at least you'll take the rejection status off your shoulders.
I think the best thing that could happen for MGTOWs, TFLers, and incels and whatnot is for us to actually offline form like little meetup groups where we can get together and we can actually develop our own little social circles amongst people who are in the same situation we're in.
Yeah, we could teach each other skills, Warren. This is another thing. I thought about this. If you had about 5 or 6 MGTOW guys meet up, or TFLers, and they physically lived within a region, and this is going to take time because this is not a mainstream, well-known thing yet, but I think what would happen is you'd have maybe a guy that can help you fix your car. Maybe he can teach you a trade. Maybe he can teach you how to be independent. And before you know it, I can tell you something. Loneliness is something that if guys had a way to connect with each other physically, if they could actually meet in real time, you'd find out that not having a woman in your life would not be as big of a deal.
Yeah, because in a way, man, like, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. When you really look at how messed up the scene is out there nowadays, man, in a way, you're lucky not to be part of it.
Yeah. Hey, Warren, I did a live stream last night, and one of the things I touched on, I'm going to upload it shortly, but I said in the live stream, I says that women are not only gatekeepers of romance and sex, they're the gatekeepers if you'll have male friends. Think about this. Most guys that don't have a girlfriend or have a regular romantic life generally don't have access to other males as friends, because it seems that a female validation opens that door. I don't know if you agree with that. It's kind of my observation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of been my observation too, man, to a large degree. I mean, some guys, if you're just hanging out with the guys, they'll be okay with you, but once you realize that, you're not really popular with the ladies, man, a lot more goes, you're going to treat you differently too.
Oh yeah, like if I know a couple of people like that I know personally, not too far from me, if they saw me holding hands with a girl walking down the street, their attitude of me would be different than if I'm just some guy jogging down the road or at my house cleaning the yard or something. So I think that we have to, I'm not saying this problem is going to be solved. we got to make it our best to try to get men in the manosphere to connect on a physical local level where we can understand that it's not about competition. And I think a lot of TFLers and a lot of MGTOWs are still in that mindset of female competition. Like, like if you can't have it, if I can't have it, you can't have it too type of mentality.
It is. It's turned into a game, a sport. And it is the mindset, and that's where really people need to work on themselves, is to change that mindset, because I would love to see the manosphere brought together, but I think it's going to be really hard to do with what we're seeing going on.
See, here's one of the differences I see between TFL and the incel, right? Even though it's the same problem, it's two different mindsets on the same issue, right? Now, here's what I've noticed. Very few exceptions. There are a couple of exceptions I can point out, but for very few exceptions, most part, TFLers are generally supportive on if another TFLer actually ascends, actually gets a girlfriend, right?
Right.
Incels,
for sure.
Incels get jealous of each other. They attack each other. There's no fake cell or whatnot. I've seen this 100 times, man. It's like a crabs in a bucket mentality.
Yeah, I think a lot of TFLers feel that if that guy can get one, I can do it too. So it feels better about it. But what do you think of the idea? And I've said this too, Warren, that TFL is not just the problem; it's a symptom of a much bigger problem. I tend to think TFL is a symptom of a much bigger social problem.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to say where exactly. I mean, from my research, I'm thinking that the really first heavyweights of TFL probably started sometime in the mid '70s, but I wasn't born till '79.
Right.
But.
Well, even Dave touched on that, Warren. I think right here we should let Dave speak, because Dave has already said this many times. So I think let's hear Dave for a little bit here. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. How you doing, guys? I'd like to. Yeah, I like what Steve touched on about other guys distancing themselves from you. If you're not, if you don't have a woman in your life, and well, in particular, other. The girlfriends or wives of that guy, because I've had this happen to myself. I've had people that I've been friends with in the past. I've just kind of lost touch with them over time, and they've just kind of, slowly distanced themselves from me. But I know exactly what Steve's talking about there.
Well, something I want to add too, Dave, is this: how many times I've heard this? Oh, live for yourself, bro. I'll respect that coming from another TFLer. I'm not going to respect that coming from a normie. I'm going to tell you why. Because when a normie tells you that, what they're really telling you translated is this. They're saying, oh, well, you're not good enough to be part of society. You're not good enough to be a meaningful part of society or to be a meaningful part of a social circle. And no one really wants to deal with you. So just go bury yourself in a corner and we can forget that you exist. That's what they're really telling you. It's just a county-coded bullshit way of saying it.
Right. Yes. It's tough being a guy and being lonely, because there's just no support for you. Nobody, everybody just wants to kind of just put you in a corner and forget about you.
They want you to be. What they want you to be is have some happily celibate, fucking alone, non-complaining little court gesture that they can sit here and keep around to keep them amused. And if you can be that, they'll pretend to get along with you, or they'll amuse themselves with you. I mean, they'll be somewhat more friendlier. But once you break out of that role, that's when they get really nasty with you.
Yeah, well, I think you're right about that. But I will say one thing, just kind of touching on this. When you're TFL, you are isolated from a lot of the problems that go along with relationships. So there are, for every positive, there's a negative. For every negative, there's a positive. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to add them too. It's first my autism, man, because people say, like, oh, well, not all incels and TFLs are autism. I agree, not all of them are, but even the ones that are, that doesn't justify that. Let me explain what I think the situation with my autism is, and it's because there are other men who are in the same situation too. Okay. If you are unattractive from an early age, and bear in mind, unattractive is a relative term, because these days average men are considered unattractive. If you're unattractive, you're not going to get many opportunities to develop your social skills, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So Asperger is code word for unattractive, for average to unattractive. And yeah, there are a few females who who are athletes who still have relationships and still get married to men who are neurotypicals and so on and so forth. We already know that. That's another issue. But as code word for average to unattractive, and to me, here's the thing. Okay, it's like I'm not socialized. I haven't been properly socialized, or I'm under socialized. Okay, but compare that to the average normies out there, right? The average dating scene, right? I know a lot of incels want to say it's shit on game, and I don't believe game is going to actually get you into the game, so to speak. I believe that if you're incel, you're not going to get in unless you beta bucks or something like that, or you just get extremely lucky. But even if you do that, you're still going to have to play games. Once you're in a relationship, or once you're in that, it's all games. In fact, there are people who've never even heard of the manosphere, who've never even heard of PUA, will tell you got to have game.
Because they're mindlessly, Warren, they're mindlessly parroting memes. They don't even know why they're saying it. Like, I've had people say that too. Oh, dude, you got to have game. These memes are very destructive. These ideas,
but see what it is. What it is women are the gatekeepers, man. They got to have constant drama, bro. And what it is, when people tell me that my social skills are underdeveloped, you know what? At least I wasn't pathologized. You look at them. They're overly socialized and they're pathologized to the point where everything is a competition.
Yeah.
Would you rather be under socialized, or would you rather be psychologically fucked in the head and pathologized, where every other thing that came out of your mouth is a bald-faced fucking lie?
Well, what are you saying? What's pathologized right now? The incel community?
No, I'm talking about the normies, bro. Like the modern dating scene is pathologized, dude. In order to be allowed to date in today's society, if you get into a relationship, okay, you want to have nothing but constant games and drama, and have to second guess everything that she says, and try to catch her bullshit, try to catch her on her bullshit. It's a never-ending game, bro.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. It seems like it's something that sometimes you wake up though and you realize you're better off not being in a relationship. But as you're really getting older, it's really weird. But I want to see something else, Warren. I've noticed, unless you have a lot of kids, if you're a typical white American family that has 1.8 kids, most of those kids move out of state and they never see their parents for years. So all these people that plan these families out, these two kids that they planned from the day they were born, they seem like they kind of just go their own way. And so there's the romance of family life seems to be kind of thwarted anyways,
It's broken down. You don't have how many people we see already that they raise their kids, they get up in age, they can't take care of themselves, and they wind up in a nursing home, and their children don't even go see them.
No, right. And it's like, whereas you have the people that never planned on having 12 kids, and one or two of those kids are full-time caregivers for the parents. So, you know what? I used to always feel like if you didn't plan to have kids, somehow your life was screwed up. But it seems like nature's played an ugly trick on us that we're not supposed to analyze this, that in the end, things kind of figure themselves out. Like they have these family reunions all the time on Unsolved Mysteries. Joe Schmuckenhauser hasn't seen his 18 half-brothers and sisters for 18 years. And when they meet, they're all successful. They've all got their shit together. And things kind of just figure themselves out,
Yeah.
They do.
These so-called normies, like the typical people that live in Ryan homes in a big development, it's not like their kids are going to grow up and idolize their parents. I got the greatest parents. We live in a Ryan home development with no trees,
Well, something I would like to point out on, too, is this, man. In a day and age where more people are being raised by single mothers, the majority of guys, especially these bad boys, are being raised up. They're not really men. It's almost like they're women in men's bodies with extra testosterone.
Yeah.
Because they were raised by single mothers. They weren't taught to behave like men. They were taught to behave like women.
Yeah, but Bill, I want to throw one thing at you, Warren. I don't think there is such a thing as a bad boy anymore. I think that's a blast of the past. I see no indication that there's these bad boys running around on the motorcycle and slaying it home to all these. Because women, first of all, would have to be gullible. I don't think you have gullible women anymore. I think you have very artificially assertive women today, where it's like almost every girl thinks she's a mini celebrity now. So I can't see how a bad boy could override that if the average girl today thinks she's a mini celebrity.
Yeah, well,
here's the thing too.
they also don't want challenge. They also don't want challenge, Steve. Because when back in the day when they were chasing a bad boy, it was about trying to change them. Okay, and you don't try to change somebody, so that just led to more drama.
Well, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing, right? Okay. How do you define clearly what a bad boy is? Because, hear me out, okay? If you look at BSM, he looks like a bad boy, right? Blue Skies Media. If you look at me, right? I mean, I got long hair, I got tattoos, I listen to heavy metal, right? Both of us are still motherfucking incel as fuck.
Right. You know what, Worren, I'm wondering something, though. I don't know what your social life is, but I think if you got out to rock and roll concerts and you tried to get out, I think you'd probably hook up with some woman. I think you could. I don't get out, so I can't.
I've been there, tried that. It never happened.
So you're kind of a misfit. You're like,
I just gave up trying, bro. It got to the point where it's too painful for me to go out into a social circle, always being the third wheel or fifth wheel or seventh wheel or ninth wheel, never be able to get anything and having to watch everybody else always have what I'm not able to get. I said, you know what, fuck, I'd rather just not have a social circle. And I just dropped it out.
But
so like if you went to a rock concert, Worren, you'd be the guy sitting by yourself, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so,
I mean, I might would have a social circle, but I'd be kind of like the jester of the circle. I'd be kind of like the black sheep of the social circle. Like they wouldn't blatantly disrespect me in my face, but it's like they wouldn't really take me seriously either.
Well, yes, that's correct. But there's something else I want to throw in here, because Worren and I talked about this, and Dave even knows this. So, I'd like to hear a little bit of input from Dave, but that is the fact that as we get older, TFL doesn't have the same effect on us that it did when we were younger.
Oh God, no! I've like my TFL. I just want to see this on Dave talk. My TFL is not as serious as people make it out to be. I got a trolling. I don't mention his name. We don't need more drama. But I got about 3 trolls that troll me all the time, and they seem to think that like I'm obsessed with this issue. I'm actually pretty calm. I've got like my mom to deal with because my mom's in a nursing home, so I got other stuff in my life that keeps my mind off of this. So as you get older, TFL becomes, you start to really kind of just make, it's kind of like if you were in a wheelchair, eventually you kind of you come to terms with it,
Yeah. Well, here's my thing. Right? TFL itself don't bother me so much anymore, unless I'm like in a big crowded group where I'm the only single person. Then it might. But generally speaking, it don't bother me that much anymore. But what does bother me is the damage has already been done over the decades of my life, especially my foundational years, my teens on that I've missed out on. I can't get back. Right. I mean that bothers me.
Yeah. No, that's correct. Let's let Dave chime in on this. Go for it, Dave.
Yeah, that's I'm the same exact age as Steve, and over time you definitely learn how to manage it better, and it doesn't really bother me really much anymore. I look around and I see most of my friends that have gotten married are actually divorced now, and some of them are in pretty bad situations. And,
yeah, Dave, one thing you got going for you, and I'm not trying to rub salt in the wound, but you've got your income. You're going to be retired soon, and you've been able to maintain a job for 30 years. There's a lot of TFLers that have gone in and out of jobs, and maybe they've had bad luck in the job market. So at least in your situation, I would say that, yes, you probably could have been married, Dave. Just your pension alone would have made you attractive. But, you'll be better off being in the situation you're in, because if you decide later on maybe to go to a foreign country and maybe live it up a little bit, you've got that option with your retirement. I certainly don't, especially with my mom and taking care of her in a limited capacity now. I don't have that luxury at this point in my life to do that.
I've gotten to a point where I don't want to contribute to society. I feel like this, right? Everyone tells us we're not entitled to anything, right? Well, guess what? They're not entitled to anything from us either. They're not entitled to our taxes. We're not entitled to our labor, because we have to work enough to be able to feed ourselves. And of course, we're going to take our taxes out anyways. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to give them any more than I have to, man. I'm going to let the empire fall, bro. Because
I don't think there's going to be. I don't think it's going to be cataclysmic. This might take another 350 years to really completely, like a Roman Empire fall took 500 years. I think America will probably last another 200 years. I think it will be radically different. I don't know.
That could be a slow burn, but I do know what I suspect happened, and this is history replaying itself, right? Anytime society gets, an empire gets to this point where they start to attack their men and turn on their men, right now there's got a situation 0.0, it's going to lead to a collapse. And out of that collapse, society's going to reset itself. It's going to be supplanted by a more masculine culture. Well, that more masculine culture is probably going to be the Muslims.
Yeah, and it's going to be a culture that cuts the heads off. See, this is the problem with a lot of these MGTOWs. Are like, I can't wait till the collapse. You got to understand, a lot more men will probably die than women. That's the way it always works. Anytime there's big wars, like in the communist revolution, men get their heads chopped off, not women. So I see this being a double-edged sword for men, because if you wish for the collapse, remember, you're not going to be sitting in some ivory tower watching all the shit on a big screen TV going, nee, 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 nee. You know, I mean, honestly, Worren, you got to think about that. More than likely, it's going to be male on male violence.
You know, well, that too. And you got all these instances of things that, Islam is that. Let me tell you something about Islam, man, okay? Islam is a harem culture. When you have a harem, that means one guy has 4 wives. That means 3 other men starve to death. 3 other men get absolutely nothing. That's why you have ISIS and shit out there, bro. Because they sit there and tell these young sex-starved guys, these young intimately starved guys, oh, well, strap this bomb to your chest and you're going to blow yourself up. You'll get 72 virgins in the afterlife. Or come with us and help us knock over this neighboring nation, and then we'll give you war brides, concubines. Yeah. And they go along with it. Because they're angry and they don't, I mean, so think about that.
For sure. Go ahead, Dave, weigh in.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say where, when and where this thing is going to run its course. You know, it's one thing that's unpredictable is politics and societies. You know,
we got about another 30 years before the baby boomers relinquish their power. Nancy Pelosi's a pre-baby boomer, and I see her living another 15 years, and she'll be in. Dianne Feinstein, born 1933, and she's still in power. I say that if our generation, Worren, we're Gen Xers, we're not going to live to see any political power. For crying out loud, it's what we see is this disgusting spectacle of these freaking old white men and old white women just running things into the ground. I don't see it happening.
I think the crash could happen within the next 50 years. I mean, I don't think it's going to be. I mean, I think it's going to be anywhere within the next. I would say at the earliest, maybe the next 30 years at absolute earliest.
Well, I could see myself still being alive. I could be 79 or 80 in 30 years. Or 78 years old, so the world's certainly going to look different, and it might be fate having it the way it is. We got so many problems. You know, you'll probably be glad you're TFL when you realize that. One thing I fantasize, I don't know if it's possible, Worren, but if men could start all male communities, it would be a great refuge for men to do things like help one another and do the kind of things that men did out west, even, where men could have a semblance of community. We'd have freaks and weirdos that would probably infiltrate it. You'd have to lay down the freaking law on those people, because you would have bullies within the system, obviously. And you'd have to lay down the law on these types of people. But I think all male get-togethers might be a way for guys that are, here's what you got to understand. Just because you come from a good yuppie family doesn't mean you're not going to be incel. A lot of these kids growing up in Ryan homes, the young boys may very well find themselves incel in the next few years.
You know what? That's the truth. I mean, here's the thing, man. And this is the thing, man. Because like I said, we're watching the cycle of empires, right? This is where hypergamy turns against women, man. Okay, you can look at any polygamous society, from the Mormons to the Muslims, bro, and it's always the same song and dance. Women are lured into these harems, and then they're trapped and they're abused, and they got nowhere out. And furthermore, these harems lead to inbreeding, bro. If only 17% of the population, let's say 70% of the population of men have access to all the women, right? They're the only ones that are able to really pass on their genes, right? Well, then that means that entire next generation is going to carry that 17% of DNA.
Right. There's going to be inbreeding, and I agree. It's not a good thing. But another thing I'll tell you, Warren, and me and Bill talked about this. Humanity has a way of not looking at the long term, like cutting down the rainforest has got a very tumultuous effect on the environment. But we as human beings always do things for the now, and we don't care about the future. And unfortunately, that will come to bite us in the ass.
That's why that's why in a way I miss the old days, man. I'm not saying it was ever perfect. There were always problems. There was always some kind of a global elite behind the scenes. But here's the thing: back in the old days, back in the old patriarchy days, man, like actual patriarchy. I'm not talking about the 1950s and gynocentric traditionalism. I'm talking about like real traditionalism. Like if you go back like 100 some years, okay. Right. Back then, there were traditions that were in place, and they were in place for a reason. They kept everything smooth, man. Okay. Men and women had different roles, but they were balanced out evenly, you know. And I think in a way we need to get back to that. We need to get back to monogamous society. A monogamous society, man, you know, that was why monogamy was brought about in the first place, because there were other ways of incel TFL, even though they didn't call themselves that down through history. And it led to systematic upheaval, and they had to restore order. So they said, well, what kind of system, what kind of mating system can we come up with that's fair and equitable for everybody so that men have an incentive to build towards society? And they came up with monogamy, because in a monogamous society, right, a 310 woman can't hold out for Chad. She ain't getting nowhere near Chad, because Chad is reserved for Stacy.
Yeah.
So she has to be realistic about her options. It's either she's realistic about her options, or she goes with nothing.
And another thing is birth control's made it possible for women to not have any responsibility for their sexual behavior. So women had to be very selective as to who they would bed with, basically your husband, because getting pregnant was not. But I don't know if we're ever going back to that, Warren. I think that we've kind of crossed the point of no return. I don't know how you go back to it. It would be very difficult to go back to the old days where people had roles, because we're living in a very technocratic society now. Technology has really wired our brains so differently. I mean, look, we're talking on.
I agree. I think there are certain pockets that might, like within certain cultures, like within like Muslim culture, say for example. But
no, it's not totally true. But Warren, I go to the gym and I see Muslim girls with the big fat heinies, and I see guys that are Muslim men that only date their own race, and they're supplicating to these girls. I saw a cat fight one time. This guy was arguing with this Muslim girl, and you know, she looked really nice, and he looked like he was totally pussy whipped. So I think this is going full force in the United States. Muslim men their women are not going to stay loyal in a freer society.
Well, that too, like what you have in a situation with the Western world and the Muslim world is an interesting situation where both cultures are invading one another, but through different means. Let me explain how this works, right? We'll start with about time around 9/11, right?
Right.
At that time, you know, there's the whole false flag 9/11. We already know about that, right? That opened the door for U.S. Western militaries in Israel and everybody to go into a lot of these Middle Eastern countries and destabilize them, right?
Come on, Warren, don't you believe? You don't believe in the official story? Shame on you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Think what happened, right? So that displaces a lot of these Muslim refugees, right? So now they're angry, right? Because you know they're losing their culture. I mean, while their country's been forcibly Americanized, westernized, and whatnot, right? Because you know they're bringing in everything from reality TV to rock and roll to feminism to goddamn you name it, right? So then they decide, okay, well, we're going to invade Europe through the guise of refugee crisis, and you know hit them with a bunch of terror cells from the inside, and we're going to out reproduce them. We're going to start sleeping with their women, and you know another 20, 30 years, you know Europe will be majority brown.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, yeah, I don't. You know what? Hey, Warren, I have a theory on why the West is bringing these refugees over. It's a very simple economic thing. If you go into a country to steal their resources, you're going to create a refugee problem. You're going to create chaos. So I think they brought these guys that run harems made a deal. They said, okay, I'll tell you what, you take our overpopulation of men off your hands, and we'll let you come in here and take our oil for money, and we'll sell it. But I think that there's a deal being brokered where this immigration problem which is mostly men coming in, is a way to get rid of their male population so that they can hoard more women. And I think that there's some truth to this, because when you have a population of a bunch of disenfranchised men, you have chaos. But if you can take those men and get rid of them and push them somewhere else, which is what the West is willing to do because they need their oil. We can't beat Saudi Arabia in a physical war, so we got to broker a deal with these people. Let's take your surplus of men, and I think that's exactly what the West is bargaining for.
But you know what? Here's the thing that won't stop the chaos. If you understand how hypergamy works, right? Let's say you got rid of all the undesirable men. They'd create a new class of undesirable men. Even if you have nothing but chads in society, bro, women will make the less desirable chads new incels.
Right.
I mean, that's the truth. That's how hypergamy works. They're always going to create an underclass.
You know what, Worren? I'm wondering if even hypergamy is even an issue anymore with women. Have you ever posited the theory that women just don't give a shit to be in relationships? I talked about dating limbo, where women can go months and years without a boyfriend, and I tend to think that women, they really don't have necessarily a hypergamous mindset, because they don't really care to be in relationships or with men anyways. I mean, so I'm kind of thinking that the hypergamy issue that's been preached in the manosphere is kind of dying down, and it's more an issue of, you got all these horny men, all these lonely men, but you got women that don't need men. I just think women are winning this war because they just don't need men anymore.
It's hate. That's really what it is. It's like men hate men.
The reason why they don't need men anymore, I'm going to tell you why, because they've had so much of an overabundance, overfulfillment of men throughout their time, from the time they were knee high. They've had hundreds of guys throwing themselves at them left and right. They had no struggle in ever getting a guy. Right. You know, versus you compare that to our plight.
Yeah.
If you know, I mean, if they would have grown up with a lack of access that we had, they'd be in the same position that we're in. But you know, women ain't going to live like that. We already know that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Worren, we don't know. The weird kind of thing is, like, when you're out in public and you see couples or you see women, you don't know the exact everybody's individual situation, because you only can speculate. And I think that the problem with a lot of TFLers and MGTOWs, they overstep their bounds, assuming they know every detail of what's going on in society. There's a lot of gray areas in between. I mean, we know TFL's real, but I don't like to assume for other people, because we really don't know every nook and cranny of everything going on. It's weird.
No, we don't. It's a situation where we've spent years since the time I brought TFL up online, even Steve and I, and breaking through the ice has been next to impossible. The only good thing that's happened recently is we got guys that never saw TFL or disagreed and said it didn't exist, who have actually seen it now with their own eyes and are realizing TFL is quite real. And so at least we made a little bit of ground that way. And MGTOW itself, I still stand, is probably the best idea, because as toxic as women are and how you're treated in society when you're with a woman, by a woman, I mean, you know, it's like, why do you want to be with somebody who's going to treat you lower than dirt?
Yeah. Hey, I have one thing I want to say to Worren and everyone in the chat. I have a theory as to why a lot of guys leave the manosphere, and it makes a lot of sense too, because I've felt these feelings too. When you're in the manosphere, you got this blanket definition of what's going on, but when you go out in public, you still see the guy with the girl or the women and people interacting. So I think what happens is you get a revulsion of it, because you feel, it's almost like that movie, The Matrix, where Cypher was angry because he knew the truth, and he said, I want to so badly get back into it. I think there's a lot of that happening today, where people are so angry with the truth or what they see in the manosphere, that when they go out in public, they don't want to have anything to do with the manosphere. And I can understand that, because, like, if I'm at the gym, I'm like thinking to myself, well, there's a couple, or there's, I guess what I'm saying is I can understand where a lot of people might get turned off by the manosphere.
I feel like that about the black hole in general. I don't even just stop at just gender issues, but even goes to when you look at transhumanism and the scientific dictatorship that's coming up that Lord Bertrand Russell and hundreds of others of elite authors have wrote about. right? This is an open conspiracy, man. The whole occult angle behind it, and you see how gridlocked and how micromanaged this system is, how hopeless it is, bro. And then you see into human biology, and you see the drives in human biology that are playing themselves out within people all around you, and you realize that people are like mechanical animals, man. I mean, you know, it's a mind fuck. It's the biggest mind fuck you've ever seen in your fucking life. Like, it goes against everything that you consciously believe in and that you want to believe in humanity, man. I mean, you know, like, you see how inhuman people actually are and how fucked this whole world really is.
Yeah.
And you feel powerless, man. You feel absolutely powerless. And
yeah,
hurts,
it is,
bro.
Yeah, it does. But you know what? I think that there might be a twinge of hope on the other end. I'm not saying we're going to make a huge ground, but I think I would like to see the manosphere get together on a physical level. And yeah, that's about what I want to say.
Yeah, let's let Dave chime in here. I don't want to feel left out.
I mean, I would like.
Go.
That's okay. That's okay, guys. I'm having, you know, it's good listening to this. But anyway, yeah, it is. You know, we do need, you know, guys. You know, it's going to take a lot more than us. You know what we're doing just here. It's going to. I mean, this is going to have to be kind of like an effort across the, you know, across this whole society to really kind of make a difference. But yeah,
you know,
but you know, Steve, you know, Steve definitely has a good idea about getting guys together. I mean, I would definitely be in on something like that. You know,
yeah, it wouldn't have to. We could all go on to, you know, like I think a lot of guys think that it's gay to want to have male friendships, but what did they come up with this shit? Bikers hug each other. I mean, like I remember you'd see like these biker meetups, and these guys would hug each other and, hey, bro, what's up? And before they would bring, you know, a lot of women in the group, and I think that a type of camaraderie could, like a neo camaraderie, we could name it neo male camaraderie or something, where men would come together, and maybe that's what it's going to take. But right now, gynocentrism has got such a stranglehold on the culture that even MGTOWs are gynocentric.
You know what's crazy, man? You know the incel rate is, I mean, it's 30% and it's growing fast here in the West. The incel rate.
Big time, yeah.
Do you know what the incel rate is in Japan?
What?
60%.
Yeah, I believe it. But one thing I will add to that incel problem in Japan, I think that those men are not, I think the women are going through dating limbo too. I don't think every incel guy in Japan is choosing to be incel. He's being forced to be incel. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't choose to be incel anyhow. I mean,
no guy. What normal guy would choose to be incel? It seems, I'm not saying there aren't guys who do it, but I tend to think that these guys that are living in their one-room apartments away from society are probably insulating themselves from the pain of being rejected.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
I mean, I'll point out as the involuntary service, if you want to call it by that, by its very name is involuntary. So
yeah,
if somebody's choosing to be alone, then they're just going MGTOW or grass eater or whatnot. But the majority of MGTOW are actually TFLers. I mean, you know, so. And the same for all these grass eaters in Japan. The grass eater movement is just a Japanese version of MGTOW.
Yeah, and I don't think they're consciously trying to get even. It's just that they're being forced to go with the grass eater route, and I don't know what implications this is going to have on society as a whole. Immigration is another issue. It is totally changing the landscape of this country. I mean, you've got entire communities in places like the state of Maine that are all Ethiopian now, and it's insane. It's like this country is becoming a third world refuge. It's insane. It's we have no control of this country at all. It's going to become another Brazil.
It will, man. And you know, and I'm gonna say something that's controversial. I don't mean this to sound as if I'm being racist or attacking any other race or anything like that. It's not about that. I'm not, because you got to take everybody's individual on an individual level. But you also realize trends and demographics and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you're going to see is most of the West is going to become majority brown. Majority of brown people on average have lower IQs.
Right.
It will lead to a culture, which will be a lot more poverty and turmoil and things like that. I factor TFL into that also.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So.
And you know what, I came up with a weird theory, but I live in Ohio, and we have a lot of these small towns of 8,000, 10,000 scattered across the whole state. These towns might be the very thing that survive, because like you've got towns in Ohio that got like 16, 18,000 people or less, and they've got like 98% white. I mean, call these people hicks, but they've managed to keep outsiders I don't know. It's amazing that there are pockets in this country that are able to kind of avoid the freakishness of mainstream urbanism.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to get to a point where the majority of men are going to walk away anyway, because I'm sure the elite know that this problem is going to grow, and they got plans for it. That's why they're building the damn sex bot industry. I think in the future, my prediction is one day where it's going to be is the average men are going to be given sex bots to keep them complacent, and the ones that are good sheep and don't rebel and do what they're supposed to do and work and pay their taxes like good little worker bees, their quote reward at the end of their life when they're on their deathbeds, they'll get to pass on their DNA through an artificial womb, which the government will control access to. They'll never get to see their kid or be part of their kid's life, but that's their reward. And the reason for that being is because the government had, if the elite class controls all the women, right? They have access to all biological wombs. Well, then who's going to reproduce among slaves if they want to keep all the men sex or keep them away from actual women? Then how are they going to reproduce the slaves? Well, they won't allow them to reproduce an artificial womb at the end of their lives.
You know what's amazing, Worren, that despite the fact that you talk about TFL especially affects a lot of white men, there are pockets of white people that just don't fall into this. Like if you lived in West Virginia in a poor community, there's plenty of kids being born. So it's a weird thing that all the social engineering cannot affect everybody. There are people that are able to kind of get away from it. They're able to isolate themselves from it. And this is what I think Alex Jones talked about them. They want to attack rural America because they want to get their stranglehold on people that are maybe not playing the game.
Yeah.
There's
always going to be a few people here and there that'll break through the condition. It's going to be 97% male, if not more.
I can see that happening because I think it's a great idea. We could make spots or even a gated community or something for TFLers and MGTOW and incels and so on. But I also think the powers to be won't want that to happen.
No. And how would you regulate it? Here's the problem. Human nature being so flawed that it is, you'd get guys that would come in there and stir up the pot and say, well, I want to bring my girlfriend in here. And you'd have guys out there, there could be a class division war. I mean, let's be honest about it. You have to put your ego so far down aside when you think of an idea like that. And there would be there would be forces that would try to stop it, but an all basically TFL community could implode from within, because then you would have people that would come in there and start some shit and say, well, I think we're going to start bringing women in here now, and we're going to start some drama. And you would have some, maybe some guy that had successful with women in his early life, and now he's angry that he can't, and then he might stir up the pot. I don't know. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, Or let's say there are women out there. Let's say one woman knows these are our guys are TFL, and she decides she's going to play games with them, right? She's going to lead one guy on, or maybe even pick one of those guys out there to use him against the other one just to stir up the drama.
Yeah, well, that happens. I mean, wars have been fought over pussy. I mean, they have. I think it's happened, but I think that what you really need, Worren, to change this culture, a spiritual renaissance. You have to have a collective mindset, and we're not even close to there. We're getting worse and worse. Like since Bill started doing TFL in 2007 or 2008, things have only gotten worse and worse.
Well, here's the thing: females' mating strategies or whatnot are always going to be at odds with men, but men will look out for everybody. Women won't, man. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, man, is the only way we can have a stable society is that you do something to put female hypergamy into check. Now, the problem with this is this. Okay, even if you do that, okay, let's even leave gender out of this for a second, right? If you really want to have a legitimately free community, and I'm not talking about the illusion of freedom so people don't revolt and rebel like what we have now. I'm talking about legitimate freedom where your voice actually counts, your vote actually counts. In order to have that, you're going to have a small group of like 200 or less. Now, if you do that, now you got another problem out on your hands. Now, how do you avoid inbreeding?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm talking about all male. I mean, obviously, if it's all men, but no, you're right. Inbreeding. I mean, everything that's been tried has already everything that's been thought about has already been tried. But I think that we might get back to all male like clubs and communities because it may be the best thing for men. It's not normal for men to want to just be away from women, though. We got to be realistic about this. The idea that men would want to all be celibate and all be in this community, eventually they'd get horny and they'd want the real thing. And, you know, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm very pessimistic about the future. I don't think MGTOW communities would last very long. There would be too much infighting within it.
There's gonna be guys turning on other guys. You see that already. You see incels getting jealous of each other and turning on each other all the damn time.
Yeah, exactly.
Even in the TFL community, man. I mean, like, you know, fucking, I could name names that have been on our shows in the past, and Bill knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, don't mention names, but I know one guy that's a black guy that was on Bill's show all the time, and he did an about face and a 180. And he totally attacked the very thing that he said he supported.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, over time, this has happened, and it's a situation where you really have no control because people are in such denial, and I think they think that if I just don't go with this and I blah, 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 I can somehow change it, but they're not going to change it because it's what's happening in our world.
Right.
They think that they ignore the problem, it'll go away. But if you ignore problems, they don't go away. They just get bigger.
Yeah, Warren, I think that I don't think that you have to relegate your life, though, to be it. I think about a lot of the things you talked about in the past. I think a guy like you could still maintain happiness in this world because, you know, if we can get men out there talking to one another, I think people would say, hey, you know, people wouldn't. I think most male cruelty is usually relegated around competing for females. That's my opinion. And
oh yeah, definitely.
You know, Kix Passion talked about this one time. Of course, he deleted his whole channel, but he said that when he was in high school and he didn't get a growth spurt, he stayed 5'4". He said all his friends just abandoned him, and he says he knew what it was. He says they all started liking girls, they all started getting around girls, and they saw him as a hindrance. And he was really upset about it. He figured it out at an early age what was going on. And he lamented about how a few of these guys tried to be friends with him, and he kind of was really pissed at them because, and I was a really good. I wish he was still around because he had some really good insight.
Yeah, you hear about what happened to Eggman, don't you?
No, what happened?
Fucking, he started getting a relationship with that girl. Remember that?
What girl? No, I haven't followed Eggman's stuff. What happened?
Eggman apparently got involved in a relationship with a girl. Well, she ended up fucking me. I don't know if she me too, but she divorce raped him. He's been divorce raped in his like fucking what, early 20s, mid 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and that's what I think a lot of these MGTOW guys are, man. A lot of these older MGTOW guys. Here's what I think a lot of them are. Okay.
Eggman's not that old. Eggman was a young guy though. I thought.
Yeah. Eggman was a young guy.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what a lot of these guys are, is they're guys mostly up in their 30s and 40s, maybe even 50s, who were TFL in their teens and their 20s, and so they invested into getting a career and making money. So by the time they got in their 30s and 40s, they were making money. Right now, all of a sudden, all these women start showing up. Some of these women start showing up wanting to use them for a paycheck. Right, and this is why you hear MGTOWs always say it's about money, because for them it was right. Yeah. What ended up happening? The woman never respected him. She only wanted what he had. She got with him specifically to divorce him, to rob him through the courts.
Yeah, but I thought Eggman was not. Well, you're saying he got married recently?
Yeah. It's been somewhat recently in the past few years. I don't
Okay.
know all
Okay.
the details of it, but
Yeah.
I know they had a post of it on incels.is.
Yeah. I don't go on those incel forums. I don't. I don't really go on those. Go ahead.
I don't very often. Either. Every once in a while, I'll pop in.
Yeah, I don't really go on. I don't like to deal with people I don't have any contact. You don't know who you're talking with. Me and Bill talked about this. Unfortunately, this community or all these communities, even the 9/11 Truth Movement, they're all anonymous. It's you don't know who the hell you're talking to.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately,
that's the thing too. You got to be careful who you make friends with out there, man. At one time. Well, started talking to someone else who we know. You know very well, Steve. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he was going to do an about face. I mean, and I got to kind of wondering at some point if like I said, like if he wasn't a plant. Because
no, I don't think a lot of these guys are plants. I think that they're angry, and I think one of the things that I've run into is people that are disappointed that I didn't push things further, and they are angry because they saw me as a beacon of hope for them. And so because I didn't deliver what I said I would, they got upset with me, and that's why they flew off the handle. Because I had a couple people do that. They said, you said you were going to do this, or you said you were going to do that, and you never did. Well, that's, they're waiting for someone else to be their beacon of hope. And if you don't deliver, they're angry at you.
And here's the thing in life, man, you've got to be your own champion, right? You're the star of the movie, bro. I mean, that's how it is. You got to be, because at the end of the day, man, I'm not saying that you can't make friends and stuff, man, but especially in your day-to-day life, like people who are aware like us are so few and far between. We're not actually able to meet in real life right now, right?
Yeah.
So chances are you won't meet anybody. There's nobody you can really trust in this world more than yourself, man. You got to trust yourself.
You have to. Well, I told Bill this. I says, Bill, I don't want to be your enemy. And if you have a problem with me, we'll discuss it, because there's been enough falling out in this whole manosphere with all these personalities. Whatever happened to Nico Chusky, Z-Ductor, and all these people are all gone, and nobody knows what's going on in the manosphere. Nobody knows where Barbarossa is. There's really no structured connection at all.
No, I mean, the manosphere became a joke, man. I mean, I hate to say this, man, but anti-feminism is the other feminism. I just left a post on one of your videos just last night, Steve, about somewhere in the comment box, and in your live, we are talking with Mike the MGTOW monk and Bill, and they were talking about all this pro-Trump. Trump is good for me. It's like, look, I don't support the left or right. But let me tell you something here. Number one, Donald Trump's daughter is an overt feminist, and he appointed her to head his ethics committee. Okay.
Right.
Number two, the Republicans are no less gynocentric and anti-male than the damn Democrats are. It's just they call it feminism traditionalism. But it's the same thing.
Because when you watch, like Tucker Carlson shames men for not getting married. He doesn't. Tucker Carlson is this dweeby Republican dork that he tries to make it look, what's wrong with traditionalism? Well, nothing's wrong with it if people could follow through with it, but nobody is. And I think these Republicans have no clue what's going on in the dating scene.
Well, there's two types of traditionalism. Let me explain this. There's gynocentric traditionalism, which is what they're talking about.
Right.
And then there's patriarchal traditionalism, which they call sexist, right? Patriarchal traditionalism is balanced out. Women don't get to vote or work outside the house, but that's because the men take all the risk and men provide for them. And, they have different, the advantages and disadvantages are equal, they're just different. Okay. Gynocentric traditionalism is pretty much Republican feminism. It's pretty much the woman still gets the best of both worlds. It's still equality plus chivalry.
Yeah, she still gets the benefit of raping you in divorce court if you got money, that type of thing,
Yeah.
Like I would say that the NFL, the National Football League, is a very Republican. It's very pro-capitalism, but I would still say that they don't give a crap if their players, their constituent or players get raped in the divorce court, as long as they set the good example of good players that show their families on the stage at the end of the Super Bowl. That's a big dog and pony show, if there ever was one, was how professional sports likes to show off the babies of these athletes, like as if this is such a institution of family values,
Yeah. You know, family values are gone. And I remember when I was 30 years ago when I was in elementary school, man, it was the norm. When I went to school, you see siblings, like brothers and sisters and stuff, they'd have the same mother, they have the same father, and they live in the same house.
Yeah.
And you don't see that nowadays. I mean, you might rarely see that on occasion. But, you know, I mean, families are, you know, most kids are raised without having dad now. And, you know, I hear all the time, especially amongst young men, claiming, oh, my dad is an alpha, my dad is this, my dad is that. And I mean, some of them might be truthful. Some of them might have shitty dads. But, you know, when you hear this so often, and you wonder that the majority of people have probably never even met their dad.
Yeah.
Okay. How much of this is a mother keeping the father out of their damn kids' lives and then lying about them and then brainwashing their kids to turn them against their dad?
Well, you have that, and you have the other thing that goes on, and I've seen this so many times. The woman that has 3 or 4 kids, and all of her kids are by different dads.
Yeah. That's pretty standard now. It's pretty standard. It to have kids from multiple daddies is pretty normal. That is probably half the women out there have multiple. If they have 2, 3 kids, it's probably from 3 different baby daddies.
Yeah, and then the woman's using the system to go after child support from each one of them dads for her own gain.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about this? You look at somebody who's pretty average looking, like Steve or Promethean or somebody like that, right? And they make a pretty good income, right? And they're labeled too genetically inferior to be allowed to enter the gene pool, right?
Yeah. Well,
you look at the guys that they're breeding with. You look at the guys they're breeding with who don't work a job, who are in and out of jail all the damn time, who are fucking lazy, immoral, who are deadbeat dads. Those guys are good enough to reproduce, right?
Yeah, but one thing you said, Worren, about truth, and I think you used to use the term pussy whip bad boys. These guys that are good looking, that these women they dump these guys all the time. So I don't think that these guys have a foothold in that woman's life, because that woman can turn him off like a light switch. You know, she can say, I'm done with this bad boy. So I think this situation has got many variables to it. You know, I think that Helva the Dashboard Lights argument made the most sense, that in the aggregate of things, women simply aren't interested in men at a large scale like they used to be. They just aren't. They're very happy with the way their lives are going. Especially if you go to the gym. Oh my God, these girls got their bubble butts out there. You know, these girls are showing this stuff off. There's no way. Why don't they wear like conservative, these spandex pants that hug their curves? And then they got the ones like they got the fishnet nylons on the side, like you could see the skin. It's like, oh my God, it's like it's clearly obvious that they're just in love with themselves, you know.
You know, and that's it, man. I mean, a lot of these, they don't. I mean, people in our peers in a society, male or female, they lack self-awareness. They don't have self-awareness, but they have absorption.
I actually seen a 22-year-old girl up in Newport Richey, and I'm not going to give no names, okay? She got lucky when she was doing her high school thing before she was 22, and they took a picture of her and they put it on a big billboard that was along the major throughway, okay? So everybody in the community would see her picture going by. Well, that caused her ego in her head to swell up so bad. On her mom's computer, she literally had over 300 pictures of herself playing, and her mother wanted me to get them pictures off her computer. So I removed her pictures, and she'd come over the one day, and she was furious. Who removed my pictures? Oh, she hated my guts just because I removed her pictures.
Oh my God.
Well, I remember there was an Asian guy who was TFL. I can't remember what his name was, but he was a foodie, and he threw himself off a bridge, right? And he killed himself. And I remember watching a forum right after the guy did it. He had all these women come over and they're feeling so bad for him. Oh, I'm so sorry, he killed himself. Oh, boo hoo hoo. And it was all about trying to get attention for themselves so they could sit here and virtue say, oh, look at me, look how moral I am. I'm such a good woman. Well, I'm grieving for this inferior guy. That's pretty much what it was about. I mean, you know, you see all these fucking white knights and man jobs come over praising these women. Oh, well, I'm so sorry you lost your friend. Nobody gave a flying fuck about the guy that killed himself. It was all about virtue signaling to these fucking hoes.
That's exactly it.
Building their egos up.
Hey, I got a question.
I mean,
hold on, Worren. I want to get Dave in here. I got a question for Dave. Okay. I want to ask Dave because Dave works in a public atmosphere where he's out in public every day. So since he's out there in public working every single day, what do you see in the city you live in when it comes to couples and men? Do you see more lonely men or men alone, or do you see more couples?
I see more loneliness than anything. I mean, the line of work I do. I mean, because I'm out there on the streets all day long. That's all I'm looking at, and it's just a very disconnected society. Especially going on in these big cities. It's kind of like that movie Taxi Drive. That's kind of almost what I feel like. When I'm at work, I feel like Robert De Niro in that movie, and yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, I mean, corporations have become the new husbands of these women, and like Steve said earlier, it's like they're almost there's hardly any hypergamy anymore. They're just content with their jobs, and their money, the money that they make is their new best friend. And as long as they got a dog or a cat at house at their home for a companion, that's all they seem to care about.
In a sense, I agree with that. In a sense, I mean, but when they do go for men, they either they look for men that they can get something out of, whether he's an extremely hot fucking human dildo for them, or whether he's an ATM machine.
Right. I mean, there definitely is. If you have certain like extraordinary money and status, women will definitely make themselves available to you. I mean, a good friend of mine, he's on the coaching staff of a major professional baseball team, and I tell you, if you or I put on that uniform and was down there in that dugout, you would have women, making themselves very available to you very quickly.
You really think like an average ball player in a Yankees uniform or a Mets uniform has that much sexual market value, like in a stand? I mean, are you serious?
Yeah, they do, Steve. I mean, how
does it happen? Do they just kind of like women just magnetically gravitate toward them, like they go out and women stare at them? I mean, obviously the process is probably pretty instant. I mean,
Yeah, it's like when they're out on the road and they're at their, they're staying at their hotels and they're down, they're down having their dinners at the restaurants and things like that.
Yeah.
They get so many opportunities. It ain't even funny. I mean, these guys get more, my friend has even told me these guys get more female attention in like one night than.
So how does it happen though? I'm just fascinated by this subject. So like, okay, you're a guy. I'm not even say you're as popular as Derek Jeter or somebody, but maybe maybe a guy making 1.8 million, the lowest salary. I don't think there is let's say 2 million a year. So you're sitting down at the table. Are women like actually walking up to you, or are they like flirting with you? How does that happen? Like, what's the process?
You would have waitresses, waitresses, hostesses, making themselves, really
overly available
on you, and you do have, females almost kind of like groupies, that know where they kind of know where
they know where they're going to be, right? Yeah.
What I've learned is when one woman really is interested, give you very clear signals to approach her, because I know that.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Here's the thing. Let me finish what I'm going to say here.
Okay.
Most of those are average-looking guys, right? If we're willing to dig to the absolute bottom of the barrel, I'm not like morbidly obese hair hat fucking chicks with like hairy pits and shit like that, like the absolute bottom of the barrel. We might get an occasional lock in here and there. I've had that happen to me, and she's made it very clear. But I'm not willing to go that low.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that it makes her a bad person because I'm not attracted to her, but I mean, I need at least to have at least 10% of traction for you got to at least be a spark for it to take. I mean, not that physical attraction is the most important thing, but it's biology, man. I mean, I can't,
Bill's gonna disagree. Bill's gonna say Bill's gonna throw his 2 cents in here. He does not like to hear that.
No, actually, when it comes down to a physical attraction, when Worren says, at least have a 10% attraction, he's not saying I need to be 100% or 80% attracted. So you're not putting yourself in there chasing after some model girl. He's talking
Right.
about an
Yeah.
average female. Okay.
Yeah, but what is average anymore? That's another ambiguous argument. What's considered average? A woman with a not attractive face with a nice bubble butt is considered creme de la creme nowadays. So it's hard to really define what's average anymore.
Well, I guess personally, I'd have to say average is on a personal level because what you may find attractive, Steve, some other gay may not find attractive.
Right.
Well, on an individual level, yeah, that's true. But on a collective basis, it's based around science of health and fertility and things like that. There are some women who you can obviously tell are at the absolute bottom of the barrel as far as being physically attractive.
They would have to be morbidly obese. I'm telling you, in order for a woman to not be attractive nowadays, she has to be hideous. If she has bad acne, but she's got a rack of boobs and she's got a bubble butt, these guys, their dicks are going off like a missile. I'm telling you. I'm because you say it's projecting. Well, yeah, it could be some projecting on my part, but I believe that projecting is the best analysis to what's really going on. I really do. Because if you're here's why. If you're thinking those thoughts, other guys are thinking those thoughts too. You're not the only person thinking those thoughts.
I agree.
And you know what's crazy about it, man? I guarantee you that bottom of the barrel, like hideous woman, I guarantee you she's got men competing for her who are far more attractive than she is because they're thirsty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some guys, I don't know how they manage to do this. I guess they each their own individual, but I mean, I guess that they're able to say that, I'll just close my eyes and pretend she's somebody else, or, I mean, I don't think most of these guys, when you see these really good looking guys, they're dating these horrible looking ham beast looking girls. And again, I don't mean to cut down on for looks. That's not what I'm trying to do. But when you see that happening a lot of the times, man, the reason why these guys are with them is because that's all they could get, and they're desperate. They're not going to tell you that. As a matter of fact, if you bring that up to them, you'll probably start a slugfest. But I guarantee you that's what it is. You see these strong, healthy, athletic-looking men with these big, fat, fucking ham beast women. It's because that's all they can get, man. They can't do any better.
Right. I mean, I got women I work with, Worren. That some of these women are like 5 feet tall and weigh 250 pounds, and as long as I've worked with them, they've always had a guy in their life. It's just it's insane. It's just insane.
Where do you even find single women anymore? I remember back when I was looking, man, it's like, dude, every time you approach a woman, she's with somebody. Or if she wasn't with somebody, she'd tell you she was anyways. And you find out 2 days later, but she said, "Oh, well, I'm not looking right now." And then 2 days later, she's hooking up with some stud or some shit. I mean,
I'm going to let you guys talk. I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to put you on mute, so I'm just going to listen to this from here from this point on, okay? And I might get back in.
Okay.
Right on.
Okay. All right?
Yep.
All right, that's
cool. No, I actually agree with that because I've seen that myself. There are women who will be single and say they're with somebody when they're not. Okay, and then they'll turn around and you'll see them with somebody because they just wasn't interested in you, but they wasn't going to tell you that, or they would do like what's happened to me. Oh, well, Bill, you're a really great guy. You have so much potential. You're this, and brag you all up and say, oh, but I'm not interested in dating right now. And then a week later, they're hooked up with somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, that's story of my life right there, Bill.
And it's
not
like,
even a day later. Sometimes it might even be a few hours later. And that shit you not, yeah.
Yeah, but so what they're doing is they're deceiving you with all their sugar coating because they don't want to just upright and tell you. And it's even more pathetic when you meet a woman and you talk to them for 2-3 months online, and then you go meet them in real, and this is what comes out their mouth. Okay, it's pathetic because what really happens here is once they physically met you, now they're no longer want you. Okay, but they're not willing to say that.
Yeah.
It's like it's just constantly flaking out on you. I ran into a lot of that when I was when I was out there dating, getting my feet wet out there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it does get to where TFLers, because Steve had brought up something about his last live cast that he did. Okay, where Mike was talking. He had Mike MGTOW Monk on there, and Mike was talking about getting laid, getting sex, and a lot of the TFLer guys were getting mad, and I could understand why they would, because that's like rubbing it in their face.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because they're not getting nobody, and you got to start talking about, well, you're getting this and you're getting that. What you're doing is really rubbing it in these guys' face. You start rubbing this stuff in incels' face and TFLers, because really, incel is nothing more than TFL. They didn't choose to be incel; they were forced to be, which is TFL.
Well, see, the problem is when women date up, man, that leaves a void to I mean, whether we want to recognize different levels of general physical attractiveness or not, I mean, women are going to realize that on some level, right? The woman, if she's a 310 and she knows she can get an 810, she's not going to sell for a male 310. So that means that male 310 now don't have any options.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's been proven that women do date up. Because one of the most disgusting times in my life that I had when it comes to this situation, and I wasn't even trying to get involved in that, when I was doing my remodels up in Florida, Home Depot was a regular stop for me, and I was always going out the contractor line, okay? And this particular day, my work partner was working on another job, but he just happened to be, we were in line together, and he was in front of me. And I used to always, this gal had a really good sense of humor. And every time I went through the line, we'd crack jokes with each other and blah, 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 right? And she was an older gal.
Yeah.
And this particular day, my roommate or my workmate was in front of me in the line, and she started bragging about her daughter has met this really wealthy guy, and she's dumping the guy she's with because this guy has so much resources to offer her.
Yeah.
Okay, so and I lost my cool right there, because I realized what she had just done is she's bragging that like this is a good thing, that my daughter tear another man's heart out just because she's found some guy that has a lot more money.
Their daughter's a prostitute.
Basically, yeah. So I was very disgusted with it, and I think she recognized my body language and knew that I totally disapproved of what she's approving.
Here's the thing that pisses me off about it, Bill, right? How many times did we as TFLers have heard this before? Oh, well, you're just looking for women who are out of your league. Well, here's the thing about that, right? They're projecting when they tell you that, obviously, okay? But here's the thing about that, right? They're allowed to put men into leagues based upon our level of physical attraction. But yet, we do that when we build a 1 to 10 scale and we talk about trying to try to break down and try to describe the situation, the system that they've created. Now we're shallow misogynists for rating women's looks.
Well, yeah, we're immediately woman hater, but if you really want to get to the crux of the truth, it's not woman hating. It's women and men alike hating men. Men are like the most hated,
yeah, exactly.
Men are like the most hated species on this planet. And this is why I call out women, because even though we know it's not 100% across the board all women, even though it's high numbers, right? My problem is this. Let's just focus on the women that are actually good women, right? They're going to sit back and watch all this male shaming in society every day on their television set, watch all of this going on, and they won't stand up to their own gender at all. Which, in my eyes,
as a matter of fact, if pushed, they'll defend their own gender's wrongs.
They sure will.
Make them just guilty.
So actually, they're guilty even if they don't, because this is the way it really works. If you're a really good woman and you're not fitting into this category, and you're a good woman, you see all this corruption going on from your own gender. If you ain't going to stand up for what's right against your own gender, then you're enabling the problem. So now you're just as guilty.
And don't even throw their own sons under the bus, man. They don't give a flying fuck about their own sons. They give a fuck about their son more as a pet than as a human being. Kind of like the situation between me and my mom. She wants to trap me at the fucking house and make me be like her little pet for fucking like fuck her.
Yeah, it's called control.
I mean, they don't care if they ruin your life as long as she gets what she wants out of it, as long as you can be her little pet. See, I mean, that's the way the women are in 2019, bro. Let me explain this, man. Is that they see everything. Their lens for their worldview is ever shifting sands of their emotional whims. Right? That's the filter that they see the world through. And solipsism takes center stage in that worldview. So in her mind, things like honor and justice and morality don't exist independently of herself. She cannot conceptualize these things independently of herself. You know what I'm saying? She's not capable of actually empathizing with others.
No,
you know, her idea of honor is what's good for her. Her idea of justice is what's just for her, whatever benefits her, whatever makes her feel good.
Yeah, it's that ultimate selfishness. It's not caring
So,
about nobody but
let's say
herself.
she's caught cheating on her boyfriend, right? She'll look for some rationalization, like, oh well, he wasn't meeting my needs or something, say for example, and she'll flip it around to make him the assailant, herself the victim. And in her mind, she's completely convinced herself that she's the victim.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You know, you see this all the time. The person who's the perpetrator wants to also play the victim role, furtherly victimizing their victim.
Yeah, you know?
We see this happen all the time in today's society. And then, you know, sad thing is we have your normies, men, who will attack you, Worren, and then they will turn around and play the victim status that somehow you attacked them when you didn't.
No.
It's disgusting. It's sick behavior because they don't want to take responsibility for their own behaviors.
Well, the problem is, and you know, the father crisis started off back in the baby boomer generation, because back then it was for different reasons than it is today. Back then it was because the fathers were away fighting a war, whereas today you got a lot of deadbeat dads, but that's another issue. But it started back then. And what happened is you raised a society full of undisciplined, spoiled, narcissistic little fucking brats. Okay? And then they grow up and they raise another generation of spoiled, narcissistic little brats. And so on and so forth. Nobody has any moral compass because there were kids raising kids.
Yep, there you go.
Nobody grew the fuck up. They didn't have no discipline in their life. We embrace a hedonistic society where nowadays you even talk about such things as social discipline and things like that. Oh my God, you're oppressing them. Stop. You're a fascist because you dare say that there should be traditions or anything in place that they keep some sense of discipline, i.e., monogamy or something like that. Say, for example, what it is a spoiled brats on top of the heap don't want to share their power. They want to be entitled to treat other people like shit without being called out on it.
That's exactly.
And so what they'll do, they'll project. They'll project all their own shortcomings and all their own fucking fucked up shit onto their victims.
That's exactly what's going on. And you know, I think that's going to be one of the cruxes of trying to bring the manosphere together. Because so many of these men ain't going to be willing to come together with other men. And if you're not willing to come together and stand up to the corruption that's going on against you, you will never change it.
Yeah.
Because a coward, I've never heard of a group of cowards winning a war. Cowards don't win wars. Cowards die on their knees. The people who win wars are the people that man up and stand up to their enemy. And that would be a major goal of bringing the manosphere together, is so if you got enough men in the manosphere that could come together, then you could stand up and address these issues and cause friction in society and fight back. But as long as you're going to continue to fight each other, or you're going to say, well, we don't want to create any friction, so we need to do this in silence, like I heard on a MGTOW live stream the other day, then you've already lost. You've already thrown in the towel. You can never change anything. And if your mindset is, well, it's too big, we can't change it, you just gave up. You just threw in the towel. Because things can be changed, but they can only be changed is if we're willing to grow up and stand together and fight for the same cause.
But I'll tell you this, though, Bill, this is the thing. You better be ready for some heavy sacrifice. If you actually manage to find a way to affect society and affect this system without, in a way that the elites don't like, they're going to send somebody to take you out.
Well, no, you got a point.
Or they're going to set you up and lock you up, or they're going to do something to fuck with you hard, bro. I mean,
yes, I know this, Warren, and I understand this, but see, your mindset has to be that you're already willing to die for what's right.
Yeah.
Because any war that's ever been fought, these men
exactly. I agree.
put their life on the line. And if you're not willing to die for what's right to stop it, you've already surrendered.
I agree. You got to be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, man. And here's the thing, man. Death ain't even the worst thing that could happen, bro. I mean, hell, I shouldn't even have to tell that to people who've lived TFL their whole lives.
No, it isn't. People who've lived TFL or incel their whole life, which is basically TFL, you need to realize you're in this dilemma, and you're never getting out of this dilemma unless you start standing together and fighting back. And if you're afraid, well, the powers to be will, see, just like forming gated communities, the powers to be won't like it. You're going to hit resistance, and they're going to come at you. But you have to be willing to fight back and put your life on the line, because it's the only way you ever change it.
Look, worst case scenario, and I mean I could see this happening, is if people got too hostile toward us, is that people could come together and start developing their own separatist communities for TFL and incel guys, where we become self-sufficient. You know, I mean, we take care of ourselves. You know, I mean, we wouldn't be necessarily, we wouldn't be violent. We wouldn't go out there and pick fights, but we wouldn't be pushovers. We would defend ourselves.
No, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. But I say even if we could form a TFL incel community, right, or MGTOW, all of the manospheres community, right? You know, the elites are not going to want this, and you very well could later on end up having another Waco, as they lie to the public and come in and attack you. Okay? But you have to be willing to stand up to that, and you're going to have to be armed and ready to do whatever's necessary to fight back, because you'll never change what's going on in society unless you take a stand to change it, and you have to be willing to put your life on the line.
But you got to also realize this, though, man, okay? The government already does have plans for this problem to grow. They're already working to manipulate this problem for their own ends. There's going to be groups of angry incels out there where they're going to be either willful or unwillful puppets of the goddamn elites.
Unfortunately, you're correct.
You know.
I mean, I don't like to, I hate to have to agree, but I know you're correct. Okay, so it's one of them situations that it's not easy for anybody, and the best advice at this time, from what I'm seeing, for TFLers and incel, is just to go your own way, go MGTOW. And you're gonna say, well, why? But I'm gonna say, well, as simple as this: you already can't get nobody. You spent all these years trying, okay, to get somebody in your life. You're constantly being pushed off the ladder. It's not going to change, and that hurt from rejection don't go away. The damage is already done, and it only progressively gets worse. And the only way you could ever find any peace for yourself would be to step away from what's hurting you. And now, I didn't say it's fair, and I didn't say it's right, because there's nothing fair about it. There's nothing right about it. The only thing that's good about it is the fact that you're going to be removing a lot of stress off your shoulders.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, it helps as antidepressant. I smoke a lot of weed, man, to be honest. That's why you hear me firing up the bowl now. I mean,
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Warren, and I got nothing against you for what you do. Dave has found his own ways in his own life to deal with what he's going through. It don't affect him as much as it did when he's younger. He's gotten stronger. Some of those good positive things Dave has going for him is he has his pension. He has all this money that he's put up, and he's got his own place to live in that he owns. And if he'd had a woman in his life in today's society, he probably wouldn't have half of what he's got, because she would have spent it.
Yeah, either that or I'd be divorced by now and should be looking at getting half my pension when I retire.
Exactly. So see, in the long run, Dave actually has some benefits from not having that in his life because he wasn't looked at as an ATM machine.
And that's one
And,
thing
you
I
know,
like
Bill,
about heavy metal too, man. Is there's 98% men in all the bands, man. I mean, I'm not gonna say there ain't any females, but it's very rare. I mean, it's pretty much a masculine genre. I mean, it's
Yes. So you
yeah,
I
you
got
know,
know,
my
Bill,
horror
most of
movies.
the
I
guys,
mean, I got a lot of women and stuff like that are into horror movies. I got my hobbies, man. I got my horror flicks, and I got my, whatever, my video games, and
yeah. So what was you saying there, Dave?
yeah, I was just gonna say most of the guys I work with, they're like the married ones. They're actually divorced now, and some of them, yeah, they can't even retire because they're looking at they can't live off half their pension, and yeah, that's just I mean, you know, what a shame that is.
Yeah. So the marriage in the long run only hurt him more than it ever helped him.
yeah.
Right.
You
You
know,
know,
I mean,
either that or they got, and even ones that didn't get married, they you know, they had affairs with some woman, and they're on the hook for child support.
yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of that going on too.
So
You know,
so Dave, what do you think of when in doubt?
well, his what his plans are.
Yeah.
You know, it's I haven't really looked into it much, but I mean, at least he's trying to do something. You know.
Yeah, that's sort of the way I
Um,
felt. He is actually at least trying
yeah,
to do something which is better than most people are doing. So,
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
why I support him is because at least when in doubt is willing to try to get it to try to do something. And and even though like Mike the Migtoe Monk and when in doubt are not TFLers or incels, okay, and they've been messed over by the female gender and they see the problem. This is why I told Steve at least they've broke the ice. They actually where we've spent all these years being and TFL's been denied, even though PUA could have never existed without
And
TFL,
here's
But let me finish, Warren.
Mm.
So
a
even though we've went all these years of being TFL don't exist, and we had the anti-TFL thing that came up for a while, we've had all this denial. At least we now have men who've actually had females in their life that actually see that this is real and everything that we've been talking about is really happening and acknowledging it. So we have a break in the
Oh,
ice now.
yeah, it's definitely real. I mean, there was a report on the I think it was on the news. It might have CNN or Fox News, something like that. That they said that 30% of men in this country are now incel or classified as incel or chronically lonely. And
Yeah.
I think that number is probably even higher, probably more like 35-40%. You know.
Well, here's the thing, too, man. Here's the thing, right? This incel problem is being used to usher in the robo-mate industry. Now, the robo-mate industry is going to be a segue getting people to accept transhumanism. Transhumanism is the most dangerous idea ever known to man. Imagine a future where they're putting brain chips into your brain from the time you're born into the world. Now your private thoughts are no longer private. Your thoughts can be edited. As a matter of fact, the government can edit your thoughts, censor your thoughts, and electronically send thoughts to your brain against your will, or send signals to your brain against your will. They can hijack your mind and your body by sending signals to your brain. They can lock you up for shit that they made you do or shit that you might do. This is where we're headed, man.
The robots, you know?
Yeah, this is where we're headed, man.
That's exactly where we're
Bill,
headed.
Bill, years ago, you guys, this was going back to probably 2008, I want to say, something like that. You guys did a really good, you and Steve and Dwayne, you guys did a really good video on TFL. It was a documentary about these three guys, and they had these realistic, they were called real dolls. Okay,
Yes.
do you remember that one?
Yes.
I remember that.
And yeah, and it was I think it was one of my favorite videos you guys did. That was a really good video. But it was about these three guys. One of them was over in the UK, and yeah, they couldn't. They were TFLers, and yeah, they had these these dolls that this was their companions, and
Yeah,
but that was a
lifelike
really good
dolls. Yep.
observation.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's what you just said is real, and this is what Warren just said is true because it's where we're headed, whether people want to
yeah,
believe it or not. That's exactly where we're headed. And if you don't like it,
mm,
well, then maybe people should start realizing they need to start standing together and standing up to this instead of saying it's too
Like,
big and it can't be changed because that mindset is how nothing ever gets changed.
look, you can go and Google this, man. You look up, there's BBC articles on brain chips. They're already talking about having brain chips. They're able to read people's thoughts and shit like that. They're already working on that, man. As a matter of fact, there was I believe his name was John Taylor Gatto, worked a professor at Yale University, was doing experiments back in the 70s, I believe, on this shit. And Bertrand Russell wrote about it in the Scientific Outlook. Yeah, this is all a thing, man. I mean, and it's funny because people are so denial about it. Like, oh, well, they couldn't possibly be able to attach cybernetic implants that could read people's thoughts and shit like that. It's like, well, dude, they're already doing it. How do you expect? And I give them clips of military veterans that have had their limbs blown up by landmines and replaced with artificial limbs, robotic limbs, and oh well. I'm giving them proof of them being able to do that right there, and they're still in denial about it. Like, dude, what more proof do you fucking need?
Well, that's just
I
it. Warren, this goes back to that KBG agent that spoke out and did an interview who had retired like 40 years ago. Everything he said transpired and happened in your face, and he said it then. There's even a semi-load of evidence could be put in these people's face, and they still won't see it until they get the military boot up their ass.
Yeah, people are so brainwashed they think that reality is irrelevant and everything is just a game and la la land. And what I'm arguing doesn't have to be right. I just have to win.
Yeah, and it's sad. It's sad. It's sick that it's gone this far, but these people really need to back up and start using their brains and looking around them and quit turning their head and looking the other way.
I mean, I get it, this reality is a tough pill to swallow. It's harsh, it's nasty. But you know what? It's only this way because we've allowed it to get this way.
Exactly. And and what Warren said is true. It's only this way because we done nothing about it to stop it, allowing it to get this way. And it can never be changed if we don't stand up. You can't go with a mindset of, well, the system's too big, we can't do nothing about it. I mean, the minute you do that, you've already thrown in the towel. You've already lost.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but I'm glad that we've at least broke ice. That we now at least have people were dead set that TFL or Incel didn't exist and we were all and it was our own faults, are now actually physically seeing that we never lied. I'm happy to see that because we've broken ice. But now it's going to be trying to get through the crux to get men to come together. And I don't know that we ever will be because too many men are too busy wanting to fight with each other.
I'm going to tell you the sad truth about this, Bill. Like I said, empires go through cycles, and whenever there's an attack on men, there always rises up a men's movement or something like that, too, just like it is with the feminist movement that used to wreck these societies, right? There's always a men's movement or something like that, too. And you know what? Throughout history, none of them have ever been successful because nobody gives a flying fuck about men. Men don't even care about men until they're affected personally. If they're not even in denial of it themselves, then.
No, and it's
some guys get completely raped by the system all their life because of women and still be in denial about it and still be white knights.
Unfortunately, what you said is true, and it's very sad to see. We live in a male-bashing society that lies to you and tells you women are the victim, men are monsters and predators and this and this and this. But in reality, the truth is both genders are victims and men are the primary victim. Men are the ones that are the most hated on this planet.
Yeah, that's right, Bill. That's just to keep the momentum going.
Especially low status men, TFL tier men.
Yeah. And it disgusts me because we made all these categories. We called guys geeks, we called them nerds, we call them losers, and we create all these man-made categories, and we place men into these categories. But boy, if you turn around and place a woman in these categories, you're going to be attacked and caught every name in the book.
But you know the serendipity of it is this, Matt. Okay, the rate is going to continue to grow and grow and grow until only like a small percentage of men have access to women, right? Now here's the kicker of it. Okay, these same guys who've been outed are still expected to be good little worker drones to build the bridges, to supply power, to supply water, energy, electricity, whatever, build the roads and the bridges, the skyscrapers, and build the cars, and mechanics and all this stuff. These are blue collar jobs. Okay, these are very important jobs. A lot of these jobs are very important jobs to society. Okay, now when these men are being outed, they're going to walk away. A lot of them are going to walk away. We're already starting to see that.
Well, that's what needs to happen, because in reality, it's like when I watched that clip that got censored here on YouTube. Okay, the point behind that was the fact that this woman was basically pushing an agenda that they're the goddess, they're on top, and that they are the rulers of this planet, and we only need just enough men around to keep our infrastructure to do the dirty work, to keep everything built for them.
Hey, let me get a word in here, Warren. I do air conditioning and heating. It already has happened. The trades are no longer saturated. They're starving for technicians. So a lot of men have walked away. Of course, they blame it on laziness. This is the common thing. It's the reason why we can't find plumbers and heating, ventilation, air conditioning mechanics is because people don't want to physically work. But I would say TFL might be an element in there.
And it's going to be like you can already see this in Japan, man. A lot of these guys, they don't care to waste their time getting a degree. I mean, the ones that already have a degree, there's going to be a lot. Like I said, they're not going to do anything. They're going to work a minimal job. They can get bare subsistence, flipping burgers, or something like that, enough to feed themselves and pay their bills. And that's going to be it. They're going to sit at home and play video games or invest in some other hobby or something. And
but Warren, Warren, let me throw this in here. What that does do for TFLers is good, because it opens up a possibility that a lot of TFLers, if they pursue a trade, they can have a self-sufficient community. I can see it happening. I know there's this ego thing involved with men and stuff, but I can possibly see down the road being skilled at something, like being an electrician, being a plumber, being a septic tank guy, maybe on-site sewage type of thing, all that type of thing. Yeah. You can learn how to have a self-sufficient community where it's a long shot. I don't see men capitulating and giving into that. I think men are just eternally desperate for the punani, but you never know. But I'm going to keep listening. I'm going to put you on mute, and I'm going to keep listening while I clean my kitchen.
Right on.
Yeah, it's sad, but this is where we're at. And I think that more and more men need to start walking away. And why should we, as men, be keeping the infrastructure built for women who hate your guts and are man haters? Because unfortunately, when I think about the little girl and the little boy sitting in front of a TV set from children on up, they're being programmed already. And with all the male shaming on TV and nobody speaking up against it, these little girls are already receiving the message from the time they're a child all the way up. And then they have all these men hitting on them and hitting on them and hitting on them. And so pretty soon they just become man haters and don't even know they are. But yet if you speak up against them, you're automatically the woman hater.
Well, here's the thing, Bill. Here's the thing, right? If you're going to walk away from women, as we said, we're talking about our answer is to walk away from women. Well, if you're going to walk away from women, that means we live in a goddess-centric society. That means you have to walk away from society.
No,
because society is all about supporting those women.
No, so, I agree with that.
That's the thing to do. Society and women have rejected us anyways.
Yep, I agree with that. I think if you could get enough men just to stop working and stop doing everything in society and not go along and go off the grid and start just supporting and taking care of themselves, you could make an impact in society.
Maybe even developing our own little communities outside them. Like, even though we don't give them, but we'll work for our community, or we'll keep ourselves up. You know what I'm saying? Our own insulated, our own separatist community for pretty much non-select men who have been pushed out. I mean, and that's all that's in there. But even then, like I said, you're still gonna have problems. I mean, you have guys turning on each other and shit. That's the.
I don't think you're going to get away from having problems, but the crux of it would be if you could get enough men to literally walk away from the system. Can you imagine this? Contractors and other people and engineers walking away from society and not doing their bidding no more because you pushed them out. Okay, now you pushed them out, so they set up yours and walked away from you. Then these women that are feminist women who are thinking this way, well, I guess you better strap on your tool belt. I guess you better go out there and figure out how them buildings and roads are built, because you ain't gonna have nobody helping you, because the people that were doing it for you, you shit on them and threw them away, so now they threw you away.
What's going to end up happening is they're going to eventually it's going to go into a polygamous society. In the early stages, they'll probably willingly form these harems around the top percentile of men. Eventually, though, man, they're going to end up becoming property of those men, because what's going to happen is this, right? When they start inbreeding with these men, they're going to start inbreeding with these men eventually over so many generations, and the kids aren't going to come out looking like so hot anymore. So, but because these bloodlines to as many generations have controlled the wealth and the family and the laws by extension, they're going to have to keep it in the family, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to lock these women down into forced marriages. Even though these women are going to be just as inbred as the other guys, I mean, but still nonetheless.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, because you see that happening. And I mean, I worked with a guy up in get my name right. Holiday, Tarpon Springs, up in Tarpon Springs. I worked with a guy who was from India. Him and his wife moved to America from India. Him and his wife were put together by their families. Neither one of them wanted to get married, but their laws and the structure in that society said, nope, you two are the couple. Put them together and married them. And when they got here to the States, they divorced.
Yeah.
Okay, so no, that has gone on where families are picking the mates and mating their children, and the children are being given no say-so. You know how wrong that is?
Yeah.
It's just right out wrong, okay? So when you start taking and you say, nope, this woman's going to be with this guy, I don't care if you're not attracted or not, that is your mate. You got another human being dictating somebody else's mate.
Yeah.
That is absolutely sick.
Although, I mean, I think forced marriages are wrong. I don't think forced marriages and arranged marriages are necessarily the same thing.
Well, I mean, even with arranged marriage, Warren, you don't have no say-so.
An arranged marriage you can say no to.
Yeah, you can say no to, but when they force it, if the society and enough peer pressure is put on you by your family and everybody around you, you wind up going along with it just because of all the pressure that's being put on you. Then they'll say,
yeah, they could just look for another arrangement that are better off with, right? I mean,
yeah, but what do you want somebody picking for you?
No, I mean, I say it's not really picking. I mean, it's forced marriages is when they say, okay, Bob, you're going to be with Sue. It don't matter if you like it or not. You're going to be with Sue because we said so. Okay. Whereas an arranged marriage is more like, we're going to put some kind of traditions into place, to keep women from dating up, so that she has to stay within her range, but we're not going to force her to go with any one particular guy.
I understand what you're saying. Okay.
By a monogamous society.
But let's add to that, okay? Let's think about what we see going on in today's society if it went that direction. The gay and lesbian and transsexual thing that's been spread across our country. Now, can you imagine this? These people decide that, well, Warren, you're going to be with this person over here, but don't worry, they've changed their gender.
Yeah, that would be a forced marriage. That'd be something I'd be against.
Exactly. Okay. And now I totally, and I just think about the implications of what we see going on, because I'm not shooting down a person who's gay, okay, or anything like
Yeah.
that, but I'm just telling you the implications to what this could come out to be could be horrific to where, I mean, so you can't let it ever go there. But, how are we going to stop it when you're not even willing to stand up for what's right when you're being dumped on right now?
Yeah. Because, I mean, you look back, I mean, we'll never get back to them days. I know it's not important to talk about, but if you look back in the old days, like in the old traditional days, man, people would pair bond young, and they were selective, but they were selective on criteria that was actually relevant and important, not on trivial, meaningless bullshit like looks, money, status. I mean, yeah, the guy had to have a certain amount of income to be able to take care of her, but it wasn't like, I mean, but it wasn't unrealistic. I mean, I know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. The best thing I can tell people on that, because we're not going to go backwards in time, is if you could at least go examine what they did then compared to what we're doing now, at least it might give you a better inkling of what you should be doing now.
Yeah,
I mean, but making people do it, that has to be people wanting to do it. You're not going to change somebody you don't want.
Here's the thing, too, man. And this is, I mean, it'd be nice if we could actually convince women of this, man. Is that in the long run, this sexual carousel don't work out for them either, bro. Because they're not happy either, man. They're happier in monogamous societies when they didn't know. A 310 woman didn't know what it was to fuck Chad Thundercock, bro. She had to get with a 310 man, and because she was only a 310 man from the time she was young, she learned to be happy with that. In the long run, she was happier because what happens in today's society? She spends all of her time banging all these chads in her 20s, and then she hits the wall, or supposedly, quote, hits the wall in her 30s. Now she can't get one of these chads for a long-term relationship anymore.
Well,
now she's a crazy cat lady.
But she never hit the wall anyhow. I can give you an example of that to prove that to be fact. Okay.
Well, I know she doesn't really hit the wall, but
yes.
But still, I mean, they're not going to get a long-term commitment from a top 20 percentile guy unless they're in the top 20 percentile woman.
But this goes back to what I said. Everybody loses. Everybody, regardless of how good-looking you are, loses your damn looks to begin with. Okay? So it goes back to that to begin with. But these women that are 50 and 60-year-old still have choice of guys that are 50, 60-year-old and still making their pick. And the men that are 50, 60-year-old still don't have no pick.
Oh yeah, I know. And a lot of times, I've seen women as late as 50 years old going out with guys in their 30s, man, because the guy was that damn desperate.
Yeah.
There's no other reason why a man in his 30s would be going out with a woman in her 50s. There's no other reason. None. Period. The 30-some-year-old man would be going out with a 50-some-year-old woman.
Well, we've seen this throughout society, but the reality is everybody's going to grow old. Everybody's going to lose their looks. You ain't going to do a damn thing about it. A woman doesn't hit the wall. There is no wall because she still has choice that you don't got as a man.
Yeah.
Okay, so, this crock, when I hear people saying they hit the wall, that's just a crock. Well, just wait till they hit the wall. Then they won't have no choice. BS. They'll always have choice.
But the point I was making is right now, with all this sexual revolution, women are more depressed now than they were before. I mean, like I said, in the long run, women are harming themselves and they don't realize it, man.
That is true. That is true. That's why I used the ink pen and told you about the programming on one side for women and one on side for men. Men are the primary victims, but women are a victim too, and people don't see it that way, but they are. But so it's like the women's programming has been self-destruction because they destroy.
But you can't convince them of that, man. It's like an alcoholic; they don't want to pull away from the bottle, man. I mean, you try to make them aware of it. You try to rationally sit down with them and explain this how this is hurting them, and they don't want to deal with it, bro. I mean,
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but in reality, when you look at it, this is what the programming has done. The woman's been programmed for self-destruct, and when she self-destructs, she destroys the man, destroys the children, destroys her family, destroys her own life, and she can't figure out what's happening.
Let me tell you something about the majority of women that call themselves, they claim that they support MGTOW. Because I'm on a I'm on a MGTOW Facebook group in my Facebook account. And I see these women come in all the time, okay? They're supposedly in support of MGTOW, but yet they're never single. Now think about that. They're never single women. They're always with a guy. Now think about that. How that contradicts right there, okay?
Well, of course
I'm
it
going to tell you
does.
what these women are, bro. They all hate incel TFL with a passion, okay? I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, right? Here's a scenario. MGTOW guy, or I should say MSTOW guy, meant sent his own way, okay? I don't mean that to bash me because I'm just making a point here, okay? Ooga booga, me big mad, me go my own way. You know, the woman. Oh yeah, sure, yeah. You're so self-empowered. You're such a strong and empowered man. Go your own way, honey. And then her thoughts. Good. That's another average to below average man that removes himself from me. I don't have to deal with him as an obstacle on the way to Chad anymore. So now he's gone. So good. I'm gonna continue to feed his delusion until he's empowered himself. So that I don't have to, have him get roadblocked to Chad.
Well, yeah, that's true. You know, and as they get older, when they find they can't hook the chads and they can't get who they want no more, then they start settling for the lower tier man that's up in this 50, 60 like them, but they're still making their pick of the lower tier men because they still have all the pick. So basically the man is really screwed over from the very beginning. Is that's why I said, why don't we just do this? It's born a boy, kill it. Okay, no, we don't want to do
women
that.
Women are manipulators.
Right?
Now, women will play along to the delusion that these men are choosing to go their own way. They know they're not. But they'll play along to that delusion because it gives them leverage. It gives them that advantage of saying, "Oh, see, these guys have chosen to go their own way."
Yeah, well,
so they use that as fuel to try to delegitimize TFL.
Well, the thing is even the man that gets women, they're discovering, just like Mike the MGTOW Monk and When in Doubt, they're not TFLers or incels, but they're discovering how toxic women are and how the system is totally steered against them. Okay?
Yeah.
And so the reality is, even if you can get a woman, it's like picking out which person you want to destroy you.
Here's a scenario right here, right? I'm making an analogy here, right? Imagine this: you're like a starving Somalian, right? You haven't eaten in days, but you're about to starve to death, right? The only food you have to eat is poisonous. It'll make you sick and potentially kill you. You're left with one or two options. You can either starve to death, or you can eat this poisonous food. Yeah. So what are you going to do?
Well, unfortunately, most will probably choose the poisonous food and die from the poison.
Well, you want to get fucked over one way or another either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's the double-edged sword. It doesn't matter which side you go, you're still going to cut.
Yeah,
That's really what it is. But hey, guys, we've been up here for almost 2 hours, so I think we'll go ahead and cut the stream.
All right.
But I think
it's good talking to you, Bill, Dave, Steve.
All right, guys. Good talking to you.
Yes, and I've enjoyed it, and I highly appreciate Worren. I appreciate you being here, and I'm sure people do as well. Same with you, Dave. I really appreciate it.
All right.
And the same with Mr.
All right,
Hoka.
thanks, Bill.
I'm glad he popped over here. And with that, we're going to get off of here, guys, and we'll chat later.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Yep. Take it easy. Bye.